All right, everybody, and we're back. The first live show since starting with Philly Voice. I'm so excited. I'm here with Angelo. I'm Jay Black, by the way. I'm here with Angelo and Rhea Hughes. Guys, are you excited? We're on Philly Voice. We're going to get so many listeners.
I'm excited because we're all wearing glasses today. We look like we're librarians.
Yes.
As Angelo said
Rhea,
earlier,
you look best in them. Just so
Oh,
you
well,
know.
thank you.
You do. So, real quick, my wife used to wear glasses and
Yeah.
she doesn't anymore. And I was like, well, when did you stop wearing glasses? Like, did you get better? Like, what happened? And her response was, I just felt like I didn't need them. And I'm like, I don't think you can just feel like you don't need glasses. You either need them or you don't.
Exactly.
And, I liked it when she had glasses. She had like this sexy librarian look. I was like, put your hair up and tell me to be quiet. Let's have some fun. Anyway, guys, it is the Wednesday after the Super Bowl, which is in this town a little bit tricky to talk about because it was rough. I sent you the video of my daughter responding. She is a 7-year-old dyed-in-the-wool Eagles fan. It was very difficult for her to deal with it. I don't want to talk about the emotions of the show because we know how we feel about it. So let's just talk about the Super Bowl as a TV touchstone for everybody, because it is always the most viewed show of the year, always, without fail. If you look at the top 10 most viewed shows of all time, it's like MASH and 9 Super Bowls. I mean, it's like people love the Super Bowl. And just in general, I wanted to get your thoughts about what it is you think, other than the game, the joy of watching the game, that makes this Super Bowl such a big event. What is it about the broadcast? Is it, what do they do?
Jay, I'm going to tell you, I think Rhea and I have a different perspective because our team was in it, and you really get to experience it a different way than just as this sports spectacle. And the thing that makes it so great is when you sit down to watch it, you know it's not like any other sports event. Everything is inflated. The 5-hour pregame show, all the pomp and pageantry before the game, the halftime extravaganza, all the the staging and all that stuff. When you're watching it, you go, wow, this is important.
Right.
And the problem is, if you're actually a fan of one of the teams there, you realize that it's not like the events that got you there. Like the things that you've got a 15-minute break between halves, every single game right through the NFC Championship game. Now it's 43 minutes. Right. Now I got to watch Rihanna gesture do all this stuff. And it's good that it looks so great, but it's not great for the game itself. And that's the thing that frustrated me in watching the 57th one on Sunday.
That's an interesting perspective. You know what, you talking about that, it reminds me a little bit of going out to dinner. You can go to a place that you really like and have a great dinner, or you can go to a place that costs like $1,000 and you get like 7 courses and they come out and describe the courses and it's supposed to be better.
Yeah.
But it's not the best meal you've ever had. It's a bigger experience, but not a good meal.
That's great. You're great.
Rhea. Yeah. What Angelo said is right, because it is a different experience when your team is in it. I watched none of the pregame because some of them started at 9:30 in the morning, and I went, okay, I can't do this all day long. But what makes sports so great is it is the best reality TV show out there. Except in this case, it's a reality show that's not scripted at all outside of the halftime, and that's what makes it great. But when you're looking at Angelo, the 43 minutes, that may have cost the Eagles the Super Bowl. And really, the NFL has to figure something out about this bloated halftime show, because we all saw Patrick Mahomes get that ankle hit, and they had enough time in that 43 minutes to shoot it up, and he was ready to go in the halftime after half. Thank you again, Jonathan Gannon. But that made a huge difference.
It's more than that. Did you see how much worse the field was in the second half?
They were picking up divots.
Yeah.
It was insane because of the show they put on. The show that they put on at halftime can never impede with the actual game. But we're looking at it again, Ange. We're looking at it through the lens of Eagles fans. Yes. I always, when the Eagles aren't in it, we look forward to the halftime show. Bruno Mars, one of the greatest halftime shows I've ever seen.
Tremendous.
Rihanna's I thought was boring, and I'm a huge fan of her. I love it, but it was boring, other than the fact that she'd made some gestures. But they have to do something that you don't have to build these elaborate stages. Get a great act, put them up there,
You're
get
right.
them in and out in 30 minutes.
You're right. It's bloated. It's overdone. It's exactly what you said, Jay. You go to this fancy restaurant, you pay all this money, and you walk out and you go, it would have been better if they just did it the normal way.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have been better. It's too much.
I will say this, as someone who is not as big a sports fan as you guys, even I am an Eagles fan. I was very upset about it, but I don't live and die the sport. So I still have a little bit of distance from it. I have a prediction to make about the Super Bowl. Here is my prediction. When the NFL finally talks the union into going to 18 games, because they will.
It will.
Yeah.
They're going to combine President's Day and
yes,
You're
makes
right.
sense.
You're right. That's where they're going. Yeah.
And it makes sense. They're only a week apart at this point. You throw in one more week of games.
You're right.
Everybody's money goes up if that happens. It just makes too much sense. And what I'll tell you is, I think that America in general loves secular holidays. We don't have a bunch of them. We have Thanksgiving, we have the 4th of July, basically. And then we try to take religious holidays and turn them secular, like Easter and Christmas. The Super Bowl is one of those secular holidays where everyone comes together. There's almost even the Stations of the Cross, where it's like, all right, pregame. Who wins the coin toss? How long is the
Well, Jay, the schools realized it because, and I know South Jersey started it first, but Clark's school went on a 2-hour delay. They actually said this makes more sense.
Right.
Everybody's going to be up late, including kids, because they're watching it. So they went to a 2-hour delay. So it makes sense. Just do it President's Day weekend.
You're right on the religious thing too, because I said a novena before. It did not work.
You didn't light a candle. You got to light a candle, Angelo, next time.
He was lighting something, but it wasn't a candle.
No, and I did not like the ending of that Super Bowl at all. I might feel differently if it went the other way.
Yeah, no. Well, and let me switch over to the way I experienced the game, and I want to talk to you about your TV viewing habits. You guys probably watched from the comfort of your home.
Yeah.
As I told Angelo yesterday, and he could not believe it, I was flying to Wisconsin to do morning shows at a community college. That was 11:30 in the cafeteria, guys.
You will take a check for anything, Jay, and that I respect it. I really do.
Honestly, if you were a crazy rich person who wanted comedy for your fish, I will fly to your house and do comedy for your fish. I don't care. Just pay me. As I told Angelo, I'm a lot like Big Daddy was, except
God,
expression.
No one was like him.
That's why we got along so well. Anyway, I was in an airport. I was flying through Charlotte to Milwaukee, and I just so happened that the majority of the game was in that airport. And I don't know who was flying or why, but it was an airport full of Kansas City fans. And every time something happened good for Kansas City, you could hear just like the applause through the halls of the Charlotte airport. It was brutal. And my question is, how did you watch the game? I didn't like it that way. I know some people go out. I would have preferred to be home with my family. Do you prefer to be in or out? And what is your go-to watching habits, Rhea? What do you do?
I watch it at home. I've always watched it at home. What was great about this year was in 2017, I watched it with my son and my brother. My son was 8 at the time, and he is not really a huge sports fan. He also got sick in the second half with 103-degree fever, and that made it difficult. This one, what was great was he watched the entire game. He was into it, loved it. And at the end, my 13-year-old was consoling me, and he came up because it didn't really hurt him as much. Like, he felt bad, but he just said, right, I feel bad they didn't win for you, which, it was a nice moment, and I loved it. But I watch every Super Bowl at home with my friend Mary was here this year, but I watch them with my son and my brother.
That's ironic, Rhea, because I felt bad that they didn't win it for me.
Yeah.
but I will not, I now have the opportunity, since I'm retiring in a few days, that I can go to parties and stuff to see the Super Bowl. shoot me first.
You are not going to a
Rhea,
party.
I'm going to watch the most important game of the year.
Yeah.
Listening to a neighbor tell me about his dietary habits.
Yes.
I am waging a war right now on salt. All right. I have never seen the purpose of it, let alone when it's in the midst of an important sports event.
Yes.
I will always experience this game alone. My wife came this year and stayed home with me, although she had opportunities because she thought it would be a special moment when the Eagles won. It was not.
It was not. No.
And I will now be in solitude with my pet, and that will be the side of it. But I got to say this, Jay, the video that you sent me of your daughter, and you even had a little snippet from 5 years ago when she was 2.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. I want people need to see it because it captured, Rhea and I have been talking about this all week, how affected little kids were by that awful loss.
Yeah.
And your video captured that as well as anything I've ever seen on it. Where can people see it?
So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, just check your podcast player right now. There'll be a link in the podcast that you can go check it out. I'll put that in there so you can see little Penny, very innocent. And my family has a long strain of Eagles fandom. Everybody before the Super Bowl sent me a text like, your dad's watching from heaven. And I just know that there was cursing in heaven on Sunday.
Yes.
I'm sure God was like, hey, can you keep it down? It's a little loud there, Bob. Because it was a rough one. But I prefer to watch it alone too. My Aunt Barbara, who's 80 years old, we always take her to every game event. Like we bring her to my brother-in-law, who has a nice big house where we do a party, and she goes to the basement by herself.
I love that. Love it.
Goes, well, why? And she goes, I need to concentrate. I can't listen to you people talking. And it's like, you got to concentrate. If you're a fan, you got to concentrate. So
I love it. I love it.
Now, I want to move on to what is the most popular segment of the show. I get more email about you, Rhea, than anything else. They're like, I love the British segment. It's always bringing me new shows. They always have suggestions for you. If you're new to the show from Philly Voice, every week, Rhea, who is the world's biggest British television fan, brings us a new show that she talks about. And it's always great because she'll go, this has 16 seasons. There's 12 episodes. I don't know how the math works out because the way they do it over there. What do you got for us this week, Rhea?
Well, this is courtesy of Mark. Mark emailed you and told you about a show he wanted me to watch called Grantchester. It's on Prime. I had blown by this 1,000 times because I don't really like shows that are like back in the 1950s because I feel like it's not, it was before I was born. It's not something I can relate to. But when our listeners give a suggestion, I will at least watch an episode.
Right.
I absolutely love it. Wow. I am almost through the first season, 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes by critics, 92% by audience. It's basically a vicar in a very small town. Now, a vicar is different from a priest in that a vicar can marry, and have relationships, with women. Just so people know, because there is some love story kind of stuff in that, and he's a really good looking guy. James Norton plays Sidney Chambers. He's a vicar in this small town and he stumbles kind of into a murder mystery and he brings it to your typical hard-boiled detective, Geordie Keating, played by Robson Green, he's what every hard-boiled detective, he's like pre-Columbo. That's how, he's even got the coat. Their relationship is what makes the show. It's like a bromance, the way to do it. He's the heart, and they drink a lot. They are always at the pub, pounding pints, pounding scotch and whiskey. The housekeeper in it for the vicar, Mrs. McGuire, absolutely hysterical. I just love her. So it's just it's really good. It's your typical sleepy English town village. They like to call them villages, except for the murders, the rampant affairs, the homosexuality. I mean, we all have this image of 1950s that these people weren't getting it on all over the place. Oh, they were. They just were all dressed up and looked really. And some of the women in this, Angelo, the 1950s women in the dresses and the hats and the hair and how they're always perfect.
Right.
Oh,
You'll love that.
I love like when they spray the hair and it's like cemented in.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
No,
hot.
That was
That's so
more
hot.
like the 60s, the 50s. This is like post World War II, but
Oh,
it's phenomenal. I'm almost through. I have one more episode in season 1. It's on Prime, and I got 5 more episodes to go.
wow.
It's not normally in my cup of tea because this is considered a cozy mystery where there's not tons of violence. It's so well acted. I mean, listen, I watch a lot of dark British shows. I mean, I'm guilty.
Right.
It's good.
You prefer violence, man? That's interesting.
Well, what I like about British shows is you don't see the violence because really they don't allow guns in England. What a concept. But it's, you don't see the violence. You know that somebody's been murdered and it's generally by poison or maybe a knife or something like that. But it's a terrific show. I wasn't expecting to like it. I was really pleasantly surprised.
Now, I will say, everybody, our traffic, even with the first episode, has gone way up now that we're on Philly Voice. So we will, at least for now, if you email us, if you respond to the podcast, if you go to YouTube and leave a comment for us, we will do our best. Rhea is only one person. So
yes.
if you want to get a review and get it in now. And that doesn't go just for British shows. If there's other shows that you want us to watch, put it in there. We, at least for now, we will do our best to get everybody's request in, because it always helps we love TV. So if you give us a suggestion, we'll check it out. Rhea, what is your team? I guess your team show, was it the Super Bowl? Like with
well,
Rhea?
no, he actually, no, he did watch it with me, and he just kind of watches it. I think he's more watching me. Like the next day I did apologize to him for my behavior. So I will point out I did do that. No, he went back and found a show. I said, what are you watching? I said, I found this show, Supergirl, which debuted in 2015.
Yeah.
Was on till 2021. Because he's into the DC, the Marvel, all that kind of stuff. What pleased me was he was watching a show about a female superhero.
Sure.
So I really like that. And his ratings are very interesting. 8.3 out of 10 he gave it.
Precise.
That's pretty
yeah,
good.
he's
Where's
very
it on there?
precise.
Where is it?
It's on Netflix. There's 6 seasons. He actually gave me the Rotten Tomato rating is 80%. It's basically Superman's cousin, somehow gets transported to Earth as a 12-year-old, kind of grows up with her foster sister and is fighting, crime, all the things that Superman did, but as a woman. And he just said he really enjoyed it. I saw one episode with him. She's very fresh-faced. Then all of a sudden she's, fighting crime, but it's very much about female power. And I think kind of a little bit ahead of time, the times we're in now where, we got to do, female power is huge. But 2015, I think when this came out, a lot of people kind of blew it off. Because they're like, I don't want to watch a female hero. Well, my 13-year-old son watched it. It could have helped that she's cute and he liked it, but he really enjoyed it. So I said he gave it very, very much a thumbs up.
Now you're never gonna believe this, but I'm kind of a nerd. So I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if you know this or not. That show is part of a DC TV universe that has connections with like 5 other shows.
Yes, he did tell me that.
Green Arrow, The Flash. There's a show called Clark and Lois about Superman. There's the Legends of Tomorrow, which, by the way, that stars Brendan Routh, who was Superman. Real quick side story about that. I was doing a movie, and I was in the movie, and we were talking about Superman, like the Superman movies. And I talked about how the Brendan Routh movie was the worst Superman, this 2006 Superman. And I went into like a 10-minute monologue about everything that was wrong with it.
You are a nerd.
You know this kind of thing. The worst ever. This is terrible. Can't believe they made it. Finally, this redheaded woman who was in the movie with me gets up and says, "You're a jerk," and storms out. And I was like, my God, that woman's a little passionate about Superman, huh? And the director of the movie goes, "Jay, her husband is Brandon Routh." 10 minutes, guys.
No.
10 minutes. Nobody touches my arm and says, "How about you dial it down?" Maybe. And I had to go apologize to her. It was rough, but all of those shows are interconnected with one another. So this could open a path for Clark, Rhea, where he gets to watch another 7,000 hours.
Yes.
and they're all pretty good.
He doesn't, yeah, like he doesn't watch enough. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, and the Flash movie's coming out soon, which there might be.
Oh, believe me, there's a countdown. I already know about it. I'm going to see Ant-Man on Friday night with him.
I'm going Saturday with my son. We'll have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Angelo, what is your show this week? What do you have?
All right. I got 3 quickies here, 2 that I loved and 1 that stinks. And the one that stinks is what everybody thinks is great. All right. So I'll start with Dear Edward on Apple Plus. I was watching it for Connie Britton. I love Connie Britton. I've loved her since Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
She's great in it. She's this prissy, rich woman. It's really about a little boy, 12-year-old boy. I think your son would love
Oh,
it.
okay. All right.
All right. Except it's kind of intense. And the kid that plays the little boy is Colin O'Brien. And this kid is a star. You got to see how great he is. And it's the story of these families. And I don't want to give a lot away, but members of a bunch of families are getting on a plane. And the pilot, they must have spent a fortune on this. It shows you the last quarter of the pilot is some of the most compelling television I've ever watched. It is so intense. It is so brilliantly filmed. The way they did it at the end, the little boy and what happens to him. I'm not giving anything away. You can't. This is really good. I've seen the first 3 episodes. Even after this big thing happens, the stories that spin out of it are phenomenal. I can't recommend it more highly. It's really good. Dear Edward on Apple Plus.
Okay.
Then I decided on Saturday night, my wife, we were staying home to get ready for the Super Bowl. Let's do a double feature. All right. I'm going to start. I like rom-coms more than my wife does. So I said, let's go to Somebody I Used to Know. Right. Okay. That is on Amazon Prime, and it stars Alison Brie and Jay Ellis. Alison Brie I knew from Mad Men. Beautiful woman, beautiful, very good actress. This is a rom-com with every rom-com trope that Jay Black has already put into his lifetime.
Yes.
Except it all fits so nicely. They do it in a way that's unique and different. You don't know how it's going to end. It's fantastic. We loved it. We both said, wow, how good was that movie?
Okay.
Near the end, it got a little weird, but it was and here's one other thing. When's the last time, Jay, you saw the actress Julie Haggerty?
Oh, from Airplane.
Airplane.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in 40 years.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Wow, she's great.
The movie in 40 years, she was in this. She has aged somewhat. All right. And then the second half of the double feature, I figured, well, we can't lose with this. Aftersun. It's nominated for all these Academy Awards.
Right.
Aftersun, Paul Mescal with he was from Normal People, and he's in it with our lovable daughter Frankie Coria, and it's the story of Paul Mescal's character sinking deeper and deeper into a depression.
Oh God, I can't. That's a Saturday night for you guys.
Rhea, that'll get you ready for some affection. We made it through 45 minutes. It was excruciating. I'm not saying Mescal wasn't good. I'm saying the movie. Here's the irony. Somebody got a 72 on Rotten Tomatoes. Aftersun got a 95. I guarantee you, people will enjoy Somebody more than Aftersun.
You mean to tell me that a movie about depression was depressing? Just seeing if I got this right.
It was too true to life. Yeah. It was bad. Don't watch Aftersun, but watch Somebody I Used to Know. Yeah. Aftersun's on all on demand. It's everywhere right now, and it stinks.
Angela, I just realized your TV double feature mirrored the Super Bowl. First half,
you're right.
Second half, slow sinking into depression.
At halftime, we were great, and then everything went downhill.
You watched the Rihanna video at halftime. It was great. Now, it's interesting, Angela, you mentioned Apple TV Plus, because I got to tell you, I'm going to talk about shrinking.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
They have become like the high-end boutique of streaming. They don't do a ton. It's not like Netflix where there's like 13 new things to watch every week. It's like 1 or 2 things, but the hit rate on Apple TV Plus, I think, is better than any other streaming service that's going right now. Shrinking, which is the #2 show on there after I think Ted Lasso is still #1. It's a Bill Lawrence show. He also did Ted Lasso. Have you guys seen Shrinking?
I'm right up to date. I love it.
It's
I love
great.
it.
Yeah.
And I don't like Ted Lasso. And I think
Really? I'm a huge Ted Lasso guy.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I love Ted Lasso. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Ted Lasso. And I've seen, this is one of those few shows where I see all the previews. I haven't gotten to it yet, been a little busy the past couple weeks, but I love the previews. So I can't wait to watch it.
It's really good.
A couple of things about it. #1, Jason Segel is great. He is great in just about everything he does.
Yep.
But I'm going to talk for a second about Harrison Ford, who turned out to be a comedian and no one knew it because he spent 40 years as Grumpy. He was Mr. Grumpy. Howard Stern used to do an impression of him as Frankenstein because he would only come out there. Rrr, that's all he would do. And he is hilarious in this, playing off that persona of being grumpy. It is a Bill Lawrence show. And I think that Bill Lawrence has cornered a very specific spot in TV between Scrubs and Cougar Town.
I love Scrubs. I was a huge Scrubs fan.
Great. It is a show where the conflict is all internal. It's like conflict that you have about your own problems that you're trying to work through. It's not bad guys. There's no bad guys. And even the people that seem bad, you wind up having empathy for because they turn out to be they're dealing with their own stuff. And it just becomes a group of people trying to get together and help each other through life. And it's very bright and sunny in Los Angeles. Even Ted Lasso, which takes place in England, feels bright and sunny in LA. And I just, if I'm wanting to turn my brain off for a half hour and just enjoy myself, I think Bill Lawrence is the place to go. And Shrinking is the show to check out.
I have a brief Jason Segel story I would like to share.
Oh, wow.
Whenever I see him on, I think of my mom. This is really kind of a heartwarming story. Years ago, when she was in her 80s, she died when she was 98, but this might have been about 12, 15 years ago. Movie, every year we would take my mom to a movie, and it was very hard to pick because she's in her late 80s. And I said to my wife, I got one here. This is going to be great. We're going to go see this great Jason Segel, and he's going to be in a movie called Shrinking. What was it called? No, I'm sorry. The one where he was full frontal.
Oh, is that
Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, you did not take your mom
the full
to that.
frontal. All right. Now you got to picture this. My wife is on one side, my 89-year-old mom's on the other, and I'm on the third side. And I had previously sent us to a movie that was bad for my mom. So I really had to nail this. 15 minutes in, Segel shows up all naked from the front. And my wife is looking at me. What the hell is wrong with you? And my mom is just under her breath. She's going, She can't believe I'm taking her to see a guy with a sting hanging out. And that, honestly, anytime I see Jason Segel now, first I see his thing, and then I see my mom's face.
Could she ever concentrate on the rest of the movie after that?
No, no one did. At that point, I didn't know to leave or what to do. You don't expect that in a comedy.
No.
What's ironic now is every time you see the show Shrinking, you need to go see a shrink. Real fast, you are caught up, right? Before we get out of here. Him on the trampoline in episode 4. Bouncing up and down, giving his neighbor the finger.
Great.
I was on a plane flying home, laughing hysterically. It's great. You got to check it out. And guys, thank you so much.
Let me give you the rundown first. Here's what we're nominating today is Worth of Your Time. Grantchester on Amazon Prime. Supergirl on Netflix. Somebody I Used to Know on Prime. Aftersun on demand. It stinks. And Dear Edward on Apple Plus and Shrinking on Apple Plus.
Guys, thank you so much. We'll be back next week. If you're on phillyvoice.com, please don't forget to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please leave a comment. It helps us. Likes, comments, even dislikes help us.
Yes.
Because it goes into the algorithm and lets people know. Tell us what you want us to watch. We'll watch it. We promise. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Guys, thank you so